All right, welcome back, everyone. Ready for another deep dive.
Definitely. Always excited to explore new ideas.
Well, today we're tackling a classic, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. This book, it's practically legendary in the success world.
It's a must-read for anyone looking to achieve their goals.
Yeah, and what's fascinating is that Hill didn't just pull this stuff out of thin air. The guy spent over 20 years interviewing over 500 incredibly successful people.
Some of the biggest names in history, really.
Oh, yeah. We're talking titans of industry, inventors, you name it. Andrew Carnegie, Henry Ford, Thomas Edison. These are the folks who shaped our world.
Exactly. Hill was on a mission to decode success. He wanted to find out what separated these high achievers from everyone else.
So what did he find? Was there some kind of secret formula, a magic recipe for success?
It wasn't some quick fix or get-rich-quick scheme. Instead, he discovered 13 principles, kind of like a blueprint for rewiring your mindset and habits for success.
Okay, a blueprint backed by serious research, not just feel-good fluff. That's promising. But 13 principles, that's a lot to unpack. Where do we even begin?
It all starts with desire.
Mm-hmm.
Hill believed this was the spark, the driving force behind all achievement. You can think of it like the engine of your success journey.
So we're not talking about wishing upon a star, right? This has to be something deeper, more intense.
Absolutely. The people Hill interviewed weren't just daydreaming about success. They had this burning, almost obsessive desire for what they wanted. It wasn't a maybe someday kind of thing. It was, I will make this happen no matter what.
It's like that saying, leap and the net will appear. They had so much faith in their vision in themselves that they were willing to take massive action.
That's a great way to put it. And you know what? That actually leads us perfectly to the next principle, faith. Hill discovered that believing in yourself, believing in your ability to achieve your goal, was crucial.
So you're saying you almost have to see it as a reality before it actually becomes one. But isn't that just blind optimism? How do you cultivate that kind of unwavering belief, especially when you're just starting out?
That's where things get really interesting. Hill talks about autosuggestion, which is essentially the art of convincing your subconscious mind that you're already successful.
So like self-hypnosis or something.
Not exactly hypnosis, but more like repeatedly feeding your mind positive thoughts and beliefs. It's about using affirmations, visualizations, and even just talking to yourself in a positive way.
Hold on, you're telling me that people who seem naturally confident might have been intentionally programming themselves for success all along, like a self-fulfilling prophecy kind of thing?
That's exactly what Hill observed. Many of the millionaires he interviewed displayed incredible confidence even before they achieved their big breakthrough. Their belief was so strong, it almost had to become reality.
I'm starting to see how these principles connect. Desire is the fuel, faith is the engine, and autosuggestion is like fine-tuning that engine for peak performance. What comes next in this formula for success?
Well, you need to add some solid knowledge to the mix. Hill calls this specialized knowledge. He argues that while general knowledge is important, you need deep expertise in your chosen field to truly excel.
So it's not enough to be a jack of all trades. You need to become a master of one. But isn't that a bit limiting? What about people with multiple passions?
That's where continuous learning comes in. Hill noticed that successful people are always evolving, expanding their knowledge. They're voracious readers, they seek out mentors, and they're constantly pushing themselves to stay ahead of the curve. It's not about being static, it's about being adaptable and thirsty for new knowledge.
Makes me think of Warren Buffett, who famously spends hours every day reading. It's not just a pastime for him, it's strategic. He's constantly deepening his knowledge of finance, which is probably why he's one of the most successful investors ever.
Absolutely. Buffett exemplifies this principle to a T. But knowledge alone isn't enough. You need to pair it with something Hill calls imagination. Now, this is where things get really exciting.
Hang on, imagination, isn't that more of an artist's tool? What does it have to do with business and success?
Hill believed imagination is the source of all innovation. It's the ability to see new possibilities, solutions, to envision things that don't even exist yet.
Okay, that's starting to make sense. Think about someone like Steve Jobs. He envisioned this world of intuitive technology before it even existed. He didn't just create products, he created a whole new way of interacting with technology. That kind of vision, that's imagination in action.
Jobs is a perfect example of how imagination can revolutionize entire industries. But here's the thing, you can't just stop at the vision, you need to turn it into a concrete plan.
Right, that's where organized planning comes in. You've got the vision, the burning desire, the belief, but without a plan, it's all just a dream.
Hill was very clear about this. A goal without a plan is just a wish. You have to break down that big vision into smaller, actionable steps and figure out a strategy to achieve each one.
It's like having a roadmap for your success. You can dream big, but you also need to figure out the route, the milestones, and how you'll navigate the inevitable detours along the way. And speaking of navigating, I think it's time to talk about decision-making.
Absolutely. Decision is another key principle Hill uncovered. He observed that successful people are decisive. They don't get stuck in analysis paralysis. They make choices quickly and confidently.
So it's about trusting your gut, making the call, and moving forward. The longer you hesitate, the more opportunities you might miss.
Exactly. Think about Jeff Bezos and Amazon. He made bold, sometimes even seemingly risky decisions rapidly. He adapted and pivoted the business model constantly. And that decisiveness played a huge role in Amazon becoming the giant it is today.
Wow, great example. Okay, we've covered a lot of ground already. Desire, faith, specialized knowledge, imagination, organized planning, and the ability to make clear decisions. That's a pretty solid foundation.
Definitely a strong start. But even with all this in place, you know there will be challenges, setbacks, times when you just want to give up.
Right.
And that's where persistence comes in.
Persistence, that unwavering commitment to your vision even when things get tough. I've always admired people who can bounce back from failures and just keep going. It feels like that's what separates the dreamers from the doers, right?
Absolutely. Hill saw persistence as the ultimate differentiator. And it's not just about stubbornly pushing through, it's about reframing those failures, seeing them as learning experiences. Remember Thomas Edison and his 10,000 attempts at the light bulb? That's persistence personified.
10,000 attempts. Talk about dedication. It really highlights that setbacks are inevitable, but giving up is a choice.
Okay, so far we've got desire, faith, specialized knowledge, imagination, organized planning, decisiveness, and now persistence. What else did Hill discover in his research? Well, that brings us to a principle that emphasizes the power of collaboration, what he called the power of the mastermind. Hill strongly believed that surrounding yourself with like-minded, ambitious people was crucial for success.
The mastermind principle. It's like having your own personal board of advisors, people who challenge you, support you, and help you see things you might miss on your own.
Exactly. A mastermind group can offer so much ideas, accountability, motivation, you name it. It's a space to brainstorm, share knowledge, and push each other to reach new heights.
You know, history is full of these powerful mastermind alliances. Think of Henry Ford, Thomas Edison, and Harvey Firestone. Their collaborations led to some truly remarkable achievements. They understood that teamwork could amplify individual strengths and drive innovation.
And that's a fantastic example of the mastermind principle in action. Now, this next principle tends to spark some curiosity. The mystery of sex transmutation.
Okay, this one definitely piques my interest. It's delicate, for sure, but how did Hill interpret this concept?
He saw this, well, not in a crude way at all. What he noticed was that many high achievers had this unique way of channeling their energy. His concept of sex transmutation wasn't about, promiscuity. It was about harnessing that powerful energy of the sex drive and redirecting it towards other things, more creative or productive pursuits.
So it's not about denying those natural desires. It's more about understanding how to channel that energy in a way that serves your goals, finding healthy and constructive outlets.
Exactly. Hill saw it as a way to fuel creativity, drive, and determination.
Makes me think of someone like Nikola Tesla, an absolutely brilliant inventor, known for his incredible work ethic. He was famously celibate, dedicated his life to his scientific work. Maybe that's an example of sex transmutation in action.
It's a compelling interpretation, that's for sure. Now, let's shift gears a bit and dive into principle number 11, the subconscious mind. Hill recognized the immense power of the subconscious in shaping our habits, actions, and ultimately our reality.
It's amazing, isn't it? To think about how much goes on beneath the surface. It's like this hidden force, shaping our thoughts, behaviors, even how we see the world.
Hill believed the subconscious mind was incredibly powerful, and that we could consciously shape it. He was a big advocate for practices like daily gratitude and visualization. Techniques we now know can have a huge impact on our mental and emotional state.
It's like we're gardeners, tending to our own minds, planting those seeds of positive thoughts and beliefs that eventually bloom into results in our lives.
That's a great analogy. And, closely tied to the subconscious is the next principle, the brain. Hill had this fascinating idea of the brain as a broadcasting station for thoughts, both transmitting and receiving.
Broadcasting station, huh? What exactly did he mean by that?
He believed our thoughts actually emit a type of energy that attracts similar energy from the universe. It's kind of like the law of attraction. What you focus on expands.
So if you're constantly dwelling on negativity and fear, you're actually drawing more of that into your life. And on the flip side, if you cultivate positive, success-oriented thoughts, you attract more positive experiences.
Exactly. It's all about aligning your thoughts with your desired outcomes. And while this might sound a bit woo-woo to some, there's actually growing scientific evidence suggesting our thoughts can have a real impact on our world.
You know, the placebo effect comes to mind. People experiencing actual physical changes just because they believe they're getting a treatment, even if it's just a sugar pill. Or studies that show optimistic people tend to live longer, healthier lives. It really makes you wonder how much power our minds really have.
It's a fascinating field, and I think Hill was ahead of his time in recognizing the link between our thoughts and our reality. Okay, we've explored 12 principles so far. Ready for the final piece of the puzzle.
Absolutely. Lay it on me. What's the last principle?
The final one is the sixth sense. It often sparks debate, but Hill observed that many highly successful people have this heightened sense of intuition, gut feelings, even a kind of foresight.
It's like that inner voice, that knowing that sometimes guides us even when logic can't explain it. It's almost like a superpower. Some people seem to tap into it more easily than others.
Hill believed this sixth sense wasn't magic. It was a skill honed through experience, knowledge, and deep self-awareness. He believed the more we learn, the more we pay attention to those subtle cues and patterns, the stronger our intuition becomes.
Think about visionaries like Oprah Winfrey or Elon Musk, known for trusting their instincts when making major decisions, even when those decisions go against conventional wisdom. It's like they have this ability to see the future, anticipate trends, and make bold moves that pay off, almost like they have access to information the rest of us don't.
They definitely embody that power of the sixth sense, trusting their inner knowing to guide them. Now, while these 13 principles form the core of Hill's teachings, there's one more crucial aspect we need to discuss: conquering fear.
Ah, yes, fear, the ultimate dream killer. We all experience it, but some seem to handle it better than others. What were Hill's insights on conquering fear?
Hill identified 6 basic fears that he believed held people back: fear of poverty, criticism, ill health, loss of love, old age, and death. He believed that recognizing and overcoming these fears was essential for reaching our full potential.
Makes sense. When we're gripped by fear, it's paralyzing, right? We're afraid to take risks, to try new things, even to speak up for ourselves. It's like fear traps us in our comfort zones, preventing us from reaching for those dreams.
You got it. And while we may never completely eliminate fear from our lives, Hill believed we could learn to manage it, prevent it from controlling us.
So it's about understanding that fear is a natural part of being human, but we have a choice in how we respond to it. We can let it dictate our actions, or we can acknowledge it, address it, and move forward with courage.
That's a powerful insight, and it perfectly sets the stage for the next part of our deep dive. We've laid the groundwork with these principles, but now it's time to explore how to practically apply them to our own lives.
All right, welcome back to our deep dive into Think and Grow Rich. We covered so much ground in part 1, from burning desire to facing our fears, but now I'm curious about the how-to part. Like, how do we actually put these principles into action? They're inspiring, sure, but they can feel a bit abstract sometimes.
I hear you. It's where the rubber meets the road, right?
Mm-hmm.
Luckily, Hill gives us some concrete tools to work with. One of the most powerful is this idea of the definite chief aim.
We touched on this a bit before, but can you remind us what that is exactly?
Think of it as your North Star, that ultimate goal you're aiming for. It's not some vague wish or wouldn't it be nice if. It's a clearly defined objective. You write it down, you visualize it, you engage with it daily, make it real.
So not like a New Year's resolution that fades away by February. This is a serious commitment to a vision you're truly passionate about.
Exactly. And once you have that definite chief aim locked in, Hill says you need a plan. Remember that organized planning principle. Break that big goal down into smaller, manageable steps.
It's like that old saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. Otherwise, it's easy to feel overwhelmed and not know where to even start.
Perfect analogy.
Mm.
And as you're working through your plan, don't forget about persistence. Hill saw this as the key that separates those who achieve from those who give up too soon.
Easier said than done, though, right? Persistence can be so tough, especially when you're hitting those inevitable roadblocks and facing rejection. How do you keep going when you just feel like throwing in the towel?
Well, Hill believed you need to change how you see those setbacks. Don't think of them as failures, think of them as feedback. Each obstacle is an opportunity to learn, to tweak your approach, to come back even stronger. Like those video games where you got to try different strategies to beat the boss.
Okay, I like that. It's not about blindly pushing forward. It's about adapting, trying new things until you find what works.
You got it. And that's actually where the power of the mastermind can be super helpful. Having a group of supportive, like-minded people around you can provide that extra push when you're feeling discouraged.
It's true. So many times when I've felt stuck in my work, just bouncing ideas off of friends or colleagues has helped me shift my perspective and find creative solutions I wouldn't have thought of on my own.
It's like having your own personal cheering section and a brainstorming team, all rolled into one. Now let's switch gears a bit and talk about mental attitude. It's something that can really make or break your success.
This is key. I've always felt like mindset is so important, but how does Hill approach this specifically?
He was all about cultivating a positive mental attitude. He truly believed that our thoughts directly influence our reality. Dwell on negativity and fear, and you'll likely attract more of that into your life.
What you focus on expands, right? If you're constantly thinking about what could go wrong, you're basically setting yourself up for self-sabotage.
Exactly. Hill recommended practices like gratitude, focusing on your strengths, and surrounding yourself with positive people. Basically, create an environment that supports growth and well-being.
It's like tending a garden, you know? You've got to pull out those weeds, those negative thoughts, and replace them with positive, empowering ones. Otherwise, those weeds will choke out all your potential.
Great way to put it. And remember that auto-suggestion principle we talked about earlier. You can actually reprogram your subconscious to think in a more positive, success-oriented way. Consistently feed it those affirmations, visualize your goals, and shift those thinking patterns.
So even if you don't naturally feel confident or optimistic, you can train your mind to think differently. It's like building a mental muscle. The more you use it, the stronger it gets.
Spot on. You're in the driver's seat, taking control of your thoughts instead of letting them control you. Now, we discussed the mystery of sex transmutation earlier, and I think it's worth delving a little deeper into it.
Yes, this one always raises eyebrows. I can see how some people might feel a little uncomfortable with this principle.
Totally understandable. Remember, Hill was writing almost a century ago, so some of his language might seem a bit outdated now. But if you look beyond the terminology, there's a valuable lesson here. He was basically saying that sexual energy is a potent force that can be channeled into other pursuits, things like creativity, productivity, and achieving goals.
So it's not about suppressing or denying our natural desires. It's more about understanding how to harness that energy and use it in a way that aligns with our ambitions, finding healthy and constructive outlets.
Exactly. He saw that many high achievers seem to have mastered this, redirecting that energy into their work, their art, their innovations, their businesses.
Think of Tesla again. His incredible work ethic, his almost obsessive dedication to invention. Maybe that's an example of sex transmutation in action.
It's definitely an interesting way to look at it. Now, here's the crucial point about all these principles we've been discussing. They're useless if we don't actually do something with them.
Right. Action is key. You can have all the desire, all the faith, all the knowledge in the world, but if you don't take action, nothing will change. Hill was a big believer in turning dreams into reality through consistent effort, day in and day out.
He believed in that constant, persistent action, taking those small steps, even if they feel insignificant at the time, because those are what build momentum and create a ripple effect.
It's like building a skyscraper, one brick at a time, slow and steady, and eventually you've got this incredible structure.
Exactly. And while you're taking action, don't forget to stay open to new possibilities, those unexpected opportunities that might come your way. Hill believed that the universe often conspires to help us achieve our goals, but we need to be receptive to those signs, those synchronicities.
I love that. It's about trusting that things are unfolding as they should and being open to those unexpected twists and turns that life throws at us.
Absolutely. And finally, remember to enjoy the journey. Success isn't just a destination. It's an ongoing process of growth, learning, and becoming the best version of ourselves.
It's like that quote, life is a journey, not a destination. It's about savoring the ride, celebrating those small wins, learning from the setbacks, and just becoming a more well-rounded person along the way.
Beautifully put, and I think that captures the essence of Think and Grow Rich. It's not just about accumulating wealth or achieving material success. It's about living a fulfilling and meaningful life on your own terms.
Welcome back to the deep dive. It's amazing how much wisdom is packed into Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. I mean, it's incredible how relevant it still is all these years later.
It really speaks to how timeless these principles are. They tap into something fundamental about us that drive to achieve our dreams.
Totally. We've covered the 13 principles, the power of the subconscious mind, the importance of a definite chief aim. But now I'm wondering, how do we pull it all together? How do we actually use all of this in our everyday lives?
Yeah, that's the big question, right? It's one thing to understand it intellectually, but quite another to actually live it.
So where do we start? What's step one in turning all this into, well, real results?
Hill was big on clarity. He said it all begins with defining your definite chief aim. That's that ultimate goal, your North Star, the driving force behind everything you do.
Right, we touched on that before, but it's worth repeating because it's so important. Getting crystal clear on what you truly want.
Exactly. And once you've got that clarity, you need a plan. Hill, he loved organized planning. Break that big goal down into smaller, manageable steps.
It's like, well, building a house. You wouldn't just start randomly putting bricks together and hope they magically become a structure. You need blueprints, a solid foundation, a step-by-step process.
Perfect analogy. It's the same with your goals. You need that roadmap, a strategy to get there.
Okay, so you've got the vision, the plan, but what about those inevitable moments of doubt? Or when you get discouraged, how do we stay motivated, especially when things get tough?
Hill talked a lot about persistence. He believed it was absolutely essential to success. He actually said victory is always on the verge of defeat, meaning you're often closest to that breakthrough when you feel most like giving up.
So it's about having that grit, that unwavering determination, seeing those challenges not as failures, but as opportunities for growth.
Exactly. And, remember, you don't have to do it all alone. This is where the power of the mastermind comes in. Having a group of people around you, those supportive, like-minded folks can make all the difference. Encouragement, accountability, fresh perspectives.
It's like having a cheering section and a team of advisors all in one.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Now, we can't forget about the importance of mindset, of cultivating that positive mental attitude. Hill truly believed our thoughts shape our reality.
Right, like saying what you focus on expands. Dwelling on negativity, well, you're probably going to attract more of that into your life, but focus on gratitude, possibility, your potential. That's when those opportunities start to open up.
You got it. And don't forget the principle of autosuggestion. You can consciously shape your subconscious mind, feed it those affirmations, visualize your goals, reprogram your thinking, and attract success.
Like we have the power to choose the software running in our minds. If we want to change the output, we got to upgrade the programming.
Love that. Now, one last thing I really want to emphasize here, and it's super important, taking action. All the desire, faith, knowledge in the world won't get you anywhere without it.
It's about turning those dreams into reality, right? Taking those small steps, even when they seem insignificant, because they build momentum, create a ripple effect.
Yes,
Yeah.
exactly. And as you're taking those actions, remember to be open to opportunities, to those unexpected possibilities. Hill believed the universe often conspires to help us achieve our goals, but we have to be ready, be receptive to those signs.
It's about trusting that things are working out as they should, being open to those twists and turns, those unexpected adventures life throws our way.
Beautifully said. And as we wrap up this deep dive into Think and Grow Rich, I want to leave you with this. You have the power to create the life you want. Believe in yourself. Set those clear goals, take action, and never forget. The journey is just as important as the destination.
What an inspiring message. To all our listeners, I encourage you to explore, think and grow rich for yourselves. Discover the amazing potential that's within you. Until next time, keep those minds curious and keep diving deep.